Let us reset the stage yet again. Okay. So we have an antisocial overlord. Let's go back to the Maiden. You are a maiden. You live in a peaceful village next to a spooky demon overlord's castle. You are told that you are fated to be captured by an overlord one day because you are a beautiful young girl. Demon overlords apparently love capturing those. You think of how you haven't heard of that actually happening to anyone, but maybe the demons just haven't been given the opportunity. Who knows? You're in church. You pray to your god asking why you have been born into this role of maiden. You respect the divine plan and all, but you're just curious as to what the point of it all is. You're impatient. Meeting a demon actually sounds pretty gosh darn exciting. Maybe you'd understand your role better if you were to just hurry up and get captured already. You leave a note and venture forth to find a demon, just, see what happens. Not long into your little adventure, a demon Underling appears before you. It looks pretty scary. Shout for a hero to come save you. You yell, but a hero doesn't come. The demon is put off by your sudden shouting and asks you to keep it down. You apologize. They seem more confused than hostile, which totally catches you off guard. You tell the demon your name and explain that you're a maiden from the village. You tell them that you were thinking maybe you could understand your role better if you were to hurry up and get taken away by a demon already. The demon doesn't seem to have really been listening to you, which is a little irritating. They agree to take you to their master nonetheless. After a long walk to the castle, you are introduced to the Overlord. You explain why you've come, and she squints at you. It turns out she never had any plans to capture maidens, or to do anything else that would agitate the humans. You wonder for a moment if she might be lying, but it doesn't really seem like it. Still, this doesn't make any sense to you. You've always been told that demons would one day seek you out, and something awful would happen. Then a hero would come to your rescue. You don't want to believe you've been lied to all along. Maybe it's just that you haven't been maiden-like enough. You ask the Overlord what you should do to be a more suitable maiden, but she doesn't seem to understand. Just go home and stop worrying about destiny so much. She makes it sound so simple. This Overlord seems like the complete opposite of you. You want to learn more about her and how she thinks. You insist on staying to talk with her more. The Overlord tells you again that you should get lost. How rude. You just got here. Maybe it's for the best that we leave. We'll obey her. You don't want to cause any trouble, so you figure it's time to go home. Along the way, you encounter a hero. He's covered in demon blood. You are frightened by the sight of him and run away. You return to the village alone. Everyone was very worried about you. They surround you with 1,000 questions, and you tell them your story. As you explain that the Overlord never had any intentions to harm anyone here, you notice looks of uncertainty on the crowd. People are whispering things to each other while you speak to them. You are loudly interrupted by an older man. He rudely calls you a demon sympathizer. The crowd is growing unruly. You don't understand. You've only told them the truth. Do they not believe you? Everyone begins speculating what must have actually happened. They weave elaborate lies and ask you to prove your innocence. How could you have returned without the aid of a hero, they ask. You could not have possibly escaped the Overlord on your own without harm. You must be conspiring with the demons, trying to trick everyone into believing they aren't the horrible creatures we know them to be, so they say. Have the people of your village always been this blinded by their fears and hatred of things they've never cared to know? You wonder how you missed that before. You're seized by the crowd, and voices from all sides are calling for public execution. You are to be burned at the stake. You don't want to die. You wonder, would it have been better to hide the truth? You don't like the thought of that. You've always lived honestly, so why has this happened? Why are you being punished? You hear the dissenting voices of your family, neighbors, but they, like you, are powerless against the momentum. They can only watch as you burn, and you can only cry for them. You are so sorry. Executed Maiden ending. Yeah, that could have gone better. Let us reset the stage yet again. There's a lot of endings here. What is this? This shows us all of, the endings we've gotten. Interesting. Cool. Alright. Let's get back to the hero, see what's going on with him. You are the hero! You like to think of yourself as a pretty reliable and swell guy. Your life has been rather ordinary aside from the occasional heroic adventures, fighting evil monsters and whatnot. You're told a maiden from your village has been kidnapped and is likely being held captive at the nearby demon overlord's castle. Who even puts a village right next to where an entire demon army hangs out? You don't get it. You're happy to protect the townspeople, though. You were born to play this role. You head off on your adventure to rescue the maiden. But the demon soldiers block your path. You could kill them to gain experience. I don't know, that's not really my game. I think we're gonna flee like a coward here. Forgetting your pride, you escape with your life. But you can't return home now. Your reputation will be ruined. You wonder how you'll ever be able to rescue that maiden all on your own if you can't even fight some lousy demon underlings. You'll take your chance at the castle. You're a hero after all. This is your job. On your way to the Overlord's castle, you spot a maiden heading back toward the village. She couldn't have come from the Overlord's castle, could she? This may be the exact maiden you're currently seeking to rescue. You approach her with curiosity. You ask the maiden what she's doing. Doesn't she know the Overlord's castle is like right there? It's dangerous. The maiden explains that she spoke with the Overlord, and it turns out the demons never had any diabolical plan to harm the village or anyone in it. I guess we'll believe her story. You have no reason to assume she's lying to you. Even though her story is kind of hard to believe, you feel you should trust her. You tell her you're pretty surprised that everyone has been wrong about the demons all along. The townspeople must be informed of this immediately. The two of you return to the village. They had all been so worried. They praise you for your bravery. But the maiden quickly sets the record straight. There's nothing she needed to be rescued from in the first place. The villagers look to you for explanation. You politely inform them that it isn't your story to tell. You merely ran into her on the way to the castle. She explains that the Overlord isn't interested in capturing maidens or anything of the sort. The villagers turn to you again in disbelief. They aren't being subtle in how little they trust this maiden's story. You totally believe her, but to placate these fair citizens, you volunteer to speak to the demons personally, just in case. The crowd breaks into hushed whispers. You're too busy thinking what a great and reliable hero you are to hear what they're saying. The town elder's voice breaks you out of your thoughts. He implores you to meet with the Overlord immediately and says they'll all keep an eye on the maiden until you return. You figure that sounds alright, but the mood is kind of intense for some reason. Did you miss something? You aren't sure what's going on, but you get the feeling it might be bad to leave the maiden on her own. But she suddenly takes off running. Oh, you thought the two of you were in this together. Her actions have convinced the crowd that she's obviously been a liar and a witch from the start. People are shouting for you to hunt her and her demon friends down already, but that doesn't sound like a very heroic task. You can't help but feel these people are wrong. It's up to you to catch up to her and talk to the demons in order to clear up this misunderstanding. You valiantly dash after the maiden toward the Overlord's castle. The air becomes dark and thick as you enter deep into the demon's territory. Evil miasma? No, you realize, it's just normal smoke. You see the maiden ahead of you, but she's stopped in her tracks. The Overlord's castle engulfed in flames. You'd only taken an eye off the maiden for a second, but she's already disappeared. You get closer to the castle, but the smoke is so thick now, you think of turning back. The maiden might need your help, but you can barely see. She could be impossible to find. She could have been lying to you all along. Was this a trap? Would it be worth risking your life on that chance? Your legs feel heavy. No, going in there would be suicide. You'll return to the villagers and tell them there was nothing you could do. You were too late. The maiden was claimed by the demons. What the heck happened there? Bystander hero and A. Huh. That just leaves you with a whole bunch of questions. Let us reset the stage. I'd say it's time for the Underling. You are a demon underling in service of the Overlord. You aren't particularly strong, but not particularly weak either. That's what your friends tell you. Your job is to guard the castle and keep humans away. It's unbearably boring. Heroes rarely come all the way here to challenge the Overlord anyway. It's a lot of standing in one place, staring into nothing. You feel like you're gonna go crazy if you don't get a break. You decide to ask the Overlord for a day off. She's surprisingly cool with it. Nice! You set out on your adventure outside the castle. The change of atmosphere excites you. You spend some time rolling around in the grass, wild and free. As you make your way down along the path to the nearby human village, you encounter a maiden. She seems very frightened and screams for a hero to come save her. You consider your options. We will tell her to quit yelling. When the maiden realizes you're not going to hurt her, she regains her composure. Now she's started talking to you like your friends or something. You don't understand humans at all. You speak the same language, of course, which has always been confusing to you, because why is there conveniently only one language in the world? If demons and humans have independent societies, wouldn't it make sense for them to each have their own language? This demon Underling is surprisingly philosophical. The maiden is going on and on about some kind of destiny she's trying to fulfill. The bottom line, from what you gather, is that she wants you to take her to the Overlord. Sounds like it could be interesting. Besides, you have nothing better to do. Satisfied with your day out, you take the maiden back to the castle and present her to the Overlord. They seem to be getting along just fine, so you decide it's about time for a nap. You don't get to sleep long. Your friends wake you up. Rude. One of them is stepping on you pretty hard. You ask them what their deal is. They say they're planning a whole revolution. They're going to get rid of the current Overlord and put a new ruler in place. They want to hear if you're in or out, and being a pretty lazy underling, you, of course, reply with, "That sounds like a lot of trouble. How about we just skip it instead?" Your friends question your loyalty to their cause. What does the skull mean? I'm not sure what the skull means. Does that mean we've already gotten that ending before? Maybe? Alright, we'll try it. Shit. Or does that mean we just die immediately? Presumably. It's actually not so bad, you guys. Your friends seem pretty disappointed. They apologize to you, but before you can ask what they're sorry about, one of them suddenly seizes you. Someone who's still loyal to the Overlord really has no place in our castle. You understand, right? Their claws tighten around your neck. You don't bother to struggle. You're outnumbered. You already know how things like this end. This is a pretty messed up thing to do to a friend, you tell them. They slit your throat in response. Faithful Underling end. They just don't reward loyalty like they used to. Let us reset the stage yet again. Let's go with Overlord. You are the Overlord. You live in a castle surrounded by your demon servants. It's a pretty cushy life, you think. Except for those pesky humans who keep killing members of your army. There's even a role called Hero, whose whole purpose in life is just to dethrone you. What's their deal anyway? You are actively avoided pissing off the humans in hopes they'll leave you and your army alone, but they never do. You're still new to the whole Overlord thing. If you're being quite honest with yourself, you don't really understand the politics of it. But you remind yourself everyone is just doing their best to fulfill their roles. You won't let them bait you into being the evil Overlord they expect. You think you're pretty cool and mature to hold yourself to the higher standard like that. One of your underlings walks into your room, totally interrupting your thoughts about how awesome you are. They're saying something about how boring it is to stand in one place guarding the castle all the time, especially since no one ever comes here anyway. You see their points, but the way they're whining about it kind of bothers you. What to do with this underling? Get back to work, you slouch. You give them a lecture about responsibility and unquestioning obedience. Your servants ought to do what they're told, whether they like it or not. They look really unhappy with you, but you're sure they'll thank you for this later. Venturing too far from the castle tends to spell death. You dismiss the underling and lie down in your nice and comfy Overlord bed. All that lecturing made you want to take a nap. You fall asleep pretty quick. Just another one of your amazing talents as the Overlord. You wake to a knock on your door. The underling from earlier brought back some company. You thought you told that underling to do their job, not drag strangers into your room. Looks like they took an unauthorized break away from the castle. You scold them, but ultimately you're a little interested in this guest, so you let them off easy. That underling's not too bad, not so bad. It's a maiden from the nearby human village. She says her role is to be captured by you. The maiden then goes on to say that she's been getting very impatient thinking about her impending capture, so she's come here to speed things along. You appreciate her honesty, but regret to inform her you never had any plans to capture any humans. She seems very disappointed by this. Perhaps I'm not performing my role well enough. How can I become more maiden-like? You don't really understand the question. You think this world puts way too much focus on destiny and junk. Just go home and stop worrying about it, you tell her. The maiden seems to be having a hard time wrapping her head around this. She insists that she stay and talk to you more. You feel warm inside as she looks into your eyes. This is the first time a human has looked at you without contempt. You wonder what to say. Just go home. Go home. You'd love to have all the conversations in the world with your new friend, but having a human girl here will definitely cause trouble. You put on your mean face and tell her to get lost. The maiden does what she's told and takes her leave. You figure you may as well go back to bed now. But you don't get to rest for very long. Before you know it, everything around you is being engulfed by flames. What's going on? You try to escape, but something's blocking the door. You're having trouble forcing it open. What is this? Someone didn't want you getting out. Are you being usurped? They have zero foresight. What castle will they rule from if this one burns? You don't want to believe that your underlings have betrayed you, but this is no accident, those ungrateful bastards. You choke on the thick black smoke from the fire. You can't believe you're being done in by a bunch of cowards. You'll see them in hell. Burned Overlord ends. Let us reset the stage yet again. Let's go with the Maiden. You are a maiden. You live in a peaceful village next to a spooky demon overlord's castle. You are told that you are fated to be captured by the overlord one day because you are a beautiful young girl. Demon overlords apparently love capturing those. You think of how you haven't heard of that actually happening to anyone, but maybe the demons just haven't been given the opportunity. Who knows? You are in church. You pray to your god, asking why you have been born into this role of maiden. You respect the divine plan and all, but you're really just curious as to what the point of it is. You're impatient. Meeting a demon actually sounds pretty gosh darn exciting. Maybe you'd understand your role better if you were to just hurry up and get captured already. You leave a note and venture forth to find a demon, just, see what happens. Not long into your little adventure, a demon underling appears before you. It looks pretty scary. Introduce yourself. You tell the demon your name and explain that you're a maiden from the village. You tell them that you were thinking maybe you could understand your role better if you were to hurry up and get taken away by a demon already. The demon doesn't seem to have really been listening to you, which is a little irritating. They agree to take you to their master nonetheless. After a long walk to the castle, you are introduced to the Overlord. She lectures the underling that brought you here, who was apparently told not to leave their post. You wonder what cruel punishment awaits them. But to your surprise, she lets them off easy. The underling is dismissed and the Overlord turns to you, looking very interested. You explain why you've come, and she squints at you. It turns out she never had any plans to capture maidens or to do anything else that would agitate the humans. You wonder for a moment if she might be lying, but it doesn't really seem like it. Still, this doesn't make any sense to you. You've always been told that demons would one day seek you out and something awful would happen. Then a hero would come to your rescue. You don't want to believe you've been lied to all along? Maybe it's just that you haven't been maiden-like enough? You ask the Overlord what you should do to be a more suitable maiden, but she doesn't seem to understand. Just go home and stop worrying about destiny so much. She makes it sound so simple. This Overlord seems the complete opposite of you. You want to learn more about her and how she thinks. You insist on staying to talk with her more. The Overlord tells you again that you should get lost. How rude, you just got here. Let's see, what are we even... I think we're going to obey her. Because right now we've got the hero trusting, and we'll see how that turns out from a maiden perspective. You don't want to cause any trouble, so you figure it's time to go home. Along the way, you encounter a hero. He asks you what you're doing. Don't you know the Overlord's castle's like right there? You explain everything that happened. He is very surprised that demons don't seem to be as malicious as you were raised to believe. The two of you return to the village, hoping to communicate this to everyone. They had all been so worried and are very glad that the hero brought you back. You quickly set the record straight. You weren't rescued because there was nothing to be rescued from in the first place. The villagers seem confused and look to the hero for an explanation. He tells them he only ran into you on his way to the castle, and that this isn't really his story to tell. You explain to them how you met the Overlord, and that she's not actually interested in capturing maidens, or any other mean things like that. The villagers look again to the hero for confirmation. You feel a little miffed that they seem to prefer his word over yours, but you don't say anything about it. The hero proclaims that he believes your story, but volunteers to go talk to the demons himself just to make absolutely sure. The crowd breaks into hushed whispers. You hear words like trickery and demon sympathizer being thrown around, which makes you frown. You're pretty shocked that everyone's this hesitant to believe you. Does the hero even trust you? You aren't sure anymore. An old man implores the hero to go speak with the Overlord immediately. He says you should be held prisoner and considered dangerous until the hero returns. Much to your disbelief, the crowd agrees with him. Because of course, if you are conspiring with the demons, you can't afford to let their guard down. The whole village would be slaughtered by monsters. The hero isn't saying anything. You'll be tied up and tossed into a cell at this rate. If you're going to be held captive by anyone, it's going to be the Overlord, not your fellow countrymen. Okay, we can grab the hero and run or leave on your own. I think this maiden is resolute. She's going to grab the hero and run. You boldly announce that you'll accompany the hero to prove yourself. You'd rather risk what's out there instead of staying in a village that doesn't trust you. No one seems to know how to react. You grab the hero by the wrist and take off before anyone stops you. But as you approach the castle, you notice something's gone terribly wrong. It appears to be on fire. Is Overlord alright? You have to be sure everyone is safe. You've already taken off before the hero can even think of stopping you. You scan the fleeing demons, but the Overlord isn't among them. Against your better judgment, you rush into the burning castle to find her. You quickly reach the Overlord's room, but the door is shut tight. The handle is too hot to touch. You're too weak to force it open. You pound your fists against the door helplessly. What were you thinking? This is all because you'd forgotten your role. Only a hero could pull this kind of thing off. You start to cough. The smoke is too thick. You can hardly breathe. You realize you haven't got much time left now. You desperately head toward the stairs to save yourself. But the fire spreads faster than you expected. You won't make it outside. You can't help but laugh. What a joke. A maiden saving the Overlord? If you just stayed true to your role, things wouldn't have ended like this. This is exactly the kind of punishment you deserve. You let the demon fire cleanse your rotten soul. Selfless Maiden End A. Well done. Perhaps, maybe if we play as the hero, we can get things to a better place, perhaps. Let us reset the stage.